technically, it's always a crapshoot whenever we do this, right?
It is, definitely.
And technically, I think it's working pretty good tonight. So we're going to attempt to bring on a fan into the fan zone. And let's see here. Keep in mind, there's no 7-second delay like radio, so anything could happen. All right, let's give this thing a shot. All right. We do have to switch out audio if you want to hear.
So which mic am I using? We should have gotten over
Same
this
mic,
before.
Same mic. So you're good on the mic. It's just audio.
So can I do this?
Yeah. There you go. All right, folks. We're going to give this a shot. Here we go.
If this doesn't work, it's all your fault.
All right.
All your fault.
Hello. Welcome, sir. It looks like Mr. Rik Thrailkill is joining us.
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Good. Just bring him up. All right. Mr. Thrailkill, you are in the fan zone. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I've been listening to you guys' show so far.
Are you excited to be in the fan zone?
I'm excited to be in the fan zone. I'm entertained. Are you not entertained?
So that means he can hear you, Boedeker. So technically, I think our audio and everything's working.
Okay. So far, so good.
So let's bring that back up. So, Mr. Thrailkill, I believe you are a DenCoGridiron fan, parent, and Booster Club member. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm fan, Booster Club member, and parent twice over.
Yeah, you've been, I think, a day one fan of the DenCoGridiron show. So when I posted earlier about fans coming on, you immediately replied, and we said, "Man, we got to have Thrailkill on because
that's what we said."
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, so, no, I've seen you guys many times, and I was at the remote that you did at Shoal Creek, so I'm glad to hear that's coming back. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sure was. Are you going to be back again?
Absolutely, I will. I actually go to church with George Dunham, with Jub, little side there. Not that that's relevant, but so I knew I had a little bit of head of time knowledge that you guys were going to do that. It was really cool, though. You guys did a great job with that.
Thank you.
I
appreciate it.
Hey, we've got a little comment that our audio is too loud. That's coming from a guy named David Holbert, so that might not be real.
Yeah,
so I think audio is fine.
I think that's a shot at the guest.
Uh-oh. And the guest, it does come up because you joined us twice. It says Rik Thrailkill the second. You're not really Rik Thrailkill the second, right?
No, I'm not Rik Thrailkill the second.
Hey, we want to talk. You've been in this area for a long time. You're a big fan of Texas high school football. You've had one son there at Denton-Guyer now, and you had one son that graduated from Guyer.
I believe his older son had a couple of state championship games.
He sure does. Yeah. He does.
So that's a neat deal. So what's it been like for you? As you grew up in the Georgia area, to see the growth of high school football here in the local area and the impact it's had, right here in the Denton area.
Well, it's funny that you asked the thing about the Georgia, because it's obviously Georgia, Texas, Florida, California, Ohio. That's your big recruiting hub. So to say that high school football in Georgia is not amazing, I mean, it is, but the spectacle, and the players, I think, are very comparable in Georgia and Texas. I mean, specialties a little different. Georgia, we love tailbacks and linebackers and safeties, and out here it's receivers and quarterbacks and offensive tackles. But the players very similar, elite talent everywhere. But the spectacle of high school football here is,
unmatched.
It is. It's. There's no comparison. Even my Georgia friends laugh about it. My older son, who Adam talked about earlier, I'm sure he probably remembers Preston from one of those teams. He now coaches at a big private Catholic high school in Georgia. They are, returning state champions, ranked number 1 in 4 or 5A in Georgia, and they're really good. They have, I think they have 4-star players, as a matter of fact. They're loaded with high end talent, but they have 12, 1,500 people at their games, and small stadiums, and so just the pure spectacle was sort of neat for me to grasp when we first moved here. It's been a fun ride though.
Yeah, it is. People say, like you said, I mean, the players aren't necessarily better in Texas. I think lots of people will say that the coaching in Texas is second to none.
It's elite.
But it's just the spectacle is what sets it apart from California and Florida and Georgia, and there's no stadiums in those states that seat 20,000 people and fill up.
Yeah, unless you're playing on Saturday afternoons, right? Like there's you're right, Adam. There are no Friday night stadiums. But one of the funny things that you talked about there about the craziness of the fan support here. I mean, it really is. It is something else. Preston, he loves his job and being there, but he misses it. He says all the time, I want to get back to coach here in Texas. So I think the coaching is something. You highlighted it, but it's not just the quality of field coaches. I mean, a guy I know I'm probably showboating here, but I got to shout out to our strength and conditioning coach, Kyle Keese. It's not just the on-field coaches, but it's what the kids get in nutrition, in strength and conditioning, in off-season conditioning. I know we had a great one before Coach Keese came and Coach Kagan's, but Coach Keese he's just taken the whole thing to a new level. That's something that my older son Preston talks about all the time. They don't have that in Georgia. Yeah. They don't get them until 4:00. They don't have the period that we have here with the athletic period. They waste their time in some sort of ridiculous golf class or something that the kids don't really care about. It's quote unquote a phys ed class, but it's not what they care about. And so that is amazing here.
Rick, we noticed going around to all the schools, and Adam's been doing it for a long time. It just blows us away. The field houses, the equipment, every program that we cover, the strength and conditioning is unbelievable. I mean, it's just.
I'm about to say, I'm sure other schools have good strength and conditioning programs too, but I do know just from covering Geyer for almost a decade that really is second to none. I mean, the job that Coach Keese does and the job Coach Keegan's did before him. I mean, Brian Keegan's left Geyer for what he thought was his dream job at Texas to be a strength and conditioning coach at Texas, and was there for a year and came back to Geyer. So, I mean, that just kind of shows you
that is crazy.
how different that place is. And, it's basically run like a major university strength and conditioning program. And like I said, I'm sure there's others like Geyer, but that's just the one that I'm familiar with. So,
yeah, the coaching. I give you a two second analogy about how good the coaching is here. My oldest son was a college athlete. Okay, he was a college athlete, but he was Division II.
2 seconds is up, Rick.
All right, sorry.
You said 2 seconds.
I exaggerated. No, just kidding.
Sorry.
But he was a Division II athlete, right? So he went to McMurray and played. And I'll never forget, when he got there, the thing that he was most disappointed in was the fact that he only had like 6 or 7 coaches. He was like, what are we going to do, Dad? What's wrong? Are we a pauper program? We only have 6 or 7 coaches. But the dedication that they have to teaching these kids is amazing because, he was able to make the travel squad his freshman year. And although he played limited his freshman year, he did make that squad. And I asked him, are you going to be intimidated if you get in, that first game there? And he's like, really, Dad? I mean, I played against, A&M guys. He had played that whole year against guys starting that year in Division I football. So the football here talent is amazing.
Rick, as a Geyer insider, I do want to ask, Geyer got off to a slow start, not scoring a point in the first 2 games. They get a big W on the road. Bye week this week. Can you give our audience, and specifically the Geyer audience, kind of an outlook for the next couple of district games and what you see the Geyer Wildcats doing moving forward?
Well, yeah, I'm not I'm not a coach by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly I've seen a bunch of games. I think it's a young team that's progressing. I think that the talent is obvious, and I had a couple of questions that I'll leave with Adam when I finish this briefly. But I think that this is a team that by the end of the year, I think we're going to be tough. I think we're going to be a tough out. I said earlier in the year to John Lance, who's the president of our booster club and who's got kids that came through with me, and had a kid who just graduated last year. John Jr.'s a future star at TCU. But we talked earlier in the year about the team and saying that I think, we could come out of the first 4 or 5 games with 2 or 3 losses and still end up being a great team. But Adam remembers Preston's team, starting out 0-2, losing to Cedar Hill and Collinsville Heritage.
Yeah, great point.
14
Neither
straight.
one of them were pretty either.
Yeah, no. I think
Collinsville Heritage game was about 56-10, I think.
it was bad, right? Especially third and fourth quarter. Well, if you watch these first 2 games, when you lose 30-something to nothing, 28-0, you don't want to spend all your time as a dad or a parent or as a booster saying, "Oh, well, it wasn't this or it wasn't that." But the truth of the matter is, I know Coach Walsh and the coaches looked at the film, and it really wasn't as bad, as it looks. I think the team will be good. I think Eli is he's incredibly talented.
Yes.
I think it's unfair that sometimes people, want to compare him to Sean or compare him to Gerard and this, that, and the other, because he's a totally different kid, right? I think, he's got immense talent. He made great strides with his receivers this summer in 7-on-7. I think he's a future star. And I think that if everyone has patience, I think this team is going to shine. My question to Adam, because he's seen a bunch of these teams, go through, is twofold. One would be, with 5 new starters on the offensive line, right, and all underclassmen except for one. I've been here since 2010 or 2009, really, as a parent, and I don't remember that ever happening. So my question to Adam is one. Okay, so no, it has never happened. So
that's a first for Geyer, and other than the first year they played football, obviously.
Exactly. So talented though, they're young. How do you see them progressing and moving forward? I know they were very successful at the JV level. They've been great as players on the freshman team. They were very successful. So against common peers, they have been good. This is obviously a big step up. But moving forward, how do you see them progressing?
Oh, I think they'll be. I talked to Coach Walsh a bunch about them in the off season, the spring, and before the season started, and he kept saying, he was like, I was nervous about having 5 new starters just because he had never had it before, but he was blown away by how experienced they looked and how good they were. So I don't think they were ever a real big concern of his, which is surprising. But I think the biggest thing with Geyer, like you said, and I've been saying it for the last 2 weeks the first 2 weeks with those big losses was, talking to Geyer Nation and just be like, you just gotta be patient, like you said. Don't worry about these 2 losses. They've started 0-2 before. Granted, it's not scoring a touchdown to the first 2 games is uncharted territory, but this is going to be a good team. And I said it last week before this North Crowley game. They're going to win games, and they're going to, like you said, I think they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. And I wouldn't be shocked. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Got a few weeks before it, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Geyer go into Southlake and beat Southlake Carroll either. I still think they're a really good team.
That's pretty bold from Boedeker right there.
Well, they're a good team, and I think, like you said, they're young. They got a bunch of guys coming back for the start of district next week, and I really think just getting Cadric Cobbs back is going to be a huge difference for the entire team, not just the offense, for everybody.
Well, that leads me to my second point, and I'll leave you guys to finish your show, and that is Cadric is not only a tremendous player, but he's a tremendous kid, right? He's a leader of the team, and he has continued to lead from the sidelines. But it's much easier to lead from the huddle. However, one of the things that I think